I'm Jennifer McCaffrey. I'm an oil painter here in Bend, and we're in my studio right now where all the magic happens. I moved here from Ohio 7 years ago, and I have been painting all my life, but started painting more intentionally about 2 years ago after my third daughter was born. I love to paint so many things. In fact, I think I'm often struggling with what not to paint more than what to paint because I want to paint everything, but I love landscapes. There's this beautiful line of poetry that says if you cracked us open, you would find landscapes. And I love thinking about what landscapes make us feel, what landscapes live within us, and trying to bring some of that onto canvas is what I love to do. But as you can see probably behind me, there's all sorts of stuff that I paint that's not landscapes. I love abstract work. Lately I've been painting a lot of birds, and I think the overarching theme in my work is movement. I was a dancer before I was a painter and danced all through college, and I love things that feel alive and feel like they have movement within them. I've been so surprised in my entire painting journey how much I didn't know I needed to process that ends up coming out onto the canvas. This is just one example. I've been reading a lot about the shadow self and all of this internal work that we all, do. And at the same time started painting shadows and light. It didn't start out that way on the canvas, and then one day it just sort of came out of me and happened. And so I think what I've been so surprised by is my best work, the stuff that I really love, and that oddly also tends to resonate with a lot of other people, is the stuff that I couldn't have planned for or anticipated. And I think that giving myself room and space to explore is so counterintuitive for me. But when I do it, that's where I find the gems. Sharing my art feels very vulnerable. I think that all of us do think and feel these things, and it is universal to feel and think about all of the dark and light parts of ourselves, and it's beautiful to make the connection with someone who sees the same thing that you do. So I worked in healthcare for most of my career, and I painted on my dining room table from 9 to 11 p.m. after a shift at the hospital, and I would come back and paint. And I was always able to hide behind I'm not really an artist. I work in healthcare, and art is just a hobby. But it was also such a huge part of who I am, and I couldn't not paint. I was working these long shifts and then coming home and painting anyway. And I think that I have been very afraid of how sharing my work would affect public perception of me. I always want to be competent and very much struggle with perfectionism. And so sharing is hard. And I have also found the richest, most beautiful connections when I'm able just to put what I actually think and feel out into the world. My creativity shifted significantly when I started playing with art and creativity with my kids. And I think prior to that, I was really interested in painting technically. I wanted to make a tree look like a really good tree and get all the values right and the shapes right and all the things that make up a tree. And now I'm much more interested in what really sings to people, because I see how my kids create and how my kids respond, and it's so pure, it's so intuitive. They can appreciate technical art also and look at something and say, wow, that's a really great tree. But they're much more alive when they see that I've painted a unicorn. They're the epicenter of what's beautiful and joyful in my life. And so if I can be inspired in my mothering and then take that inspiration, I feel like half the work is already done during the day as I'm living my life with them. As I've dedicated more time to creating, I've gone away from being concerned with being a good technician to making things that really make me feel alive and that I love looking at. And that could be a combination of colors I'm obsessed with and making that into an abstract, or it could be playing with animal shapes or different things that I actually like and want to see. There's a lot of joy that you can get out of doing something really well, but I find more joy in making something that I want to look at every day, and it's rarely technically perfect. So I think that if I could go back and talk to myself, 10 years ago, I would say don't worry so much about whether or not your rendering skills are perfect. They don't need to be to make something that you love.